Hello and welcome back, friends. Today I have another deck for you. Another personal choice of mine, which for a short period was actually my number one choice for climbing. I used this alongside Demir Tempo to make rank 1, and I held it for about 2 weeks. A bit down in the rankings, haven't been able to play as much, and now that the historic grinders have got going, it's so hard to keep up in rank. Even I've had decks with an 80% win rate and I'm dropping in rank. It's just hard to keep up. With that said, I'd like to actually show off the deck. It is a white-green collector's cage, hence the name Chastity, because it's a cage deck. As far as how this deck works, it's a fairly typical flip the board tokens deck. You do go pretty big. You have the namesake of the deck, Collector's Cage, a artifact from OTJ the Big Score. This is a 2-mana artifact with Hideaway 5, allowing you to exile one of your top 5 cards face down. And when you meet a certain requirement, in this case activating its ability to put a counter on one of your creatures, and then having 3 or more creatures with different power, you can play the card for free. So the main combo of this deck is to hide away an Overlord of the Mistmoors, or for a more silly one, Split Up. To be able to cheat it out for 1 mana at instant speed, an instant speed Split Up, or just a cheated out Overlord. 2 great ways to win the game. So that's the overall theme of the deck. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts of it. So this is a Selesnaya deck, meaning you have access to green and white removal. You don't have much, but what you do have are good creatures. At 1 drop, you have Llanowar Elves, the classic, been around since the dawn of time. Great mana dork to play on 1, gets you a turn ahead, wins games. You'll also have Pawpatch Recruit, one of the offspring creatures from Bloomburrow, which you may not have seen quite so often. This is a 1 mana 2/1 trample with offspring 2. Whenever one of your creatures becomes targeted, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on a different creature. This guy is an absolute beater for Dimir decks. You offspring this guy, and then every time they want to kill somebody, you are getting 2 counters for somebody else. Followed up, for cheap creatures, you have Sky Knight Squire, a new creature from Foundations. A 2 mana 1/1, which gets a counter every time another creature enters, and has flying and is a knight, as long as it has 3 or more counters. These 3 cards, for 12 creatures, make up your turn 1 and 2 plays. These are the cards you want to mulligan for. These are the cards you need. It is very difficult to keep a hand without at least one of these guys. Not playing an actual relevant card, Collector's Cage does nothing until you have creatures. Sheltered needs creatures, and Get Lost, I hate this card. It's terrible, but it's necessary. These are your opening hand creatures. And then you have 3 drops. A total of 12 3 drops, seeking to take advantage of the 1/3 Llanowar Elves provides. And we have a bunch of token makers. Another card from the OTJ Big Score, Sandstorm Salvager. 3 mana 1/1, which makes a colorless golem artifact when it enters. And it has the ability to put a +1/+1 counter and give trample to every single token you control. This is your main late game. You can keep buffing tokens and trampling them over, allowing you to very easily break through stalled board states. You also have 4 copies of Sanguine Evangelist, another token creature. This one has Battle Cry. It makes a bat when it enters and another bat when it dies. Another card which is an absolute beating for Dimir or any other removal deck. Unlike cards like Salvager, or if you kill the golem, it's a 1/1 until you can activate the ability. This guy, even if you kill it, it's 2 flying 1/1 bats, which do kind of give a good beating when you have ways like Collector's Cage and Storm Salvager to keep buffing them. Very good against removal. Pretty solid against Domain because of how quickly it does damage with that Battle Cry. And just overall spectacular card. For our final guy, we have 2 copies of Toby Beastie Befriender, the legendary 3-drop from Duskborn, which creates a 4/4 beast token which can't attack or block alone. When it enters, and as long as you have 4 more creature tokens, it gives all your tokens flying. It's a 2 of because it's legendary, but it's the most stats, 5/5 total stats for 3 mana. And again, it breaks through solid board states. It gives you flying tokens, which allow you to win. 2 copies of Split Up as well. Bit of a weird removal spell in a creature deck, but this beats Convoke. This is good against Dimir. It's great against Golgari, especially with Collector's Cage and Llanowar Elves. And Sandstorm Salvager, you have creatures that tap themselves. You could instant speed this. You could just swing and then use it. It's a great way to clear off the board. You might be wondering why I keep mentioning all these creatures that break stalled board states. It's because this deck is great at creating them. 2 creatures here, 3 creatures here, 3 creatures off this guy, 2 there, 2 there. You just flood the board. You make it hard for opponents to attack. And yeah, you do like to attack, but you win late. You buff your guys, you give them trample, you battle cry them, Restless Prairie buffs them. And for the last cards, and also the first cards, Overlord of the Mistmoors, the white Overlord from Duskborn, and Collector's Cage. This is your combo. You cheat out Overlord, or you just impending it. It's fairly solid there too. One last thing about Collector's Cage. The activated ability is just great. A counter every turn on the creature of your choice gives you great attacks and blocks. We also have 4 removal spells. I've been testing out different ones. I have 6 total. As you can see, they're all 2-ofs. I've been testing them. You could try a Soul Partition, you could try more Get Lost, you could try more Sheltered. I encourage you to experiment with this deck. It's a fairly new deck. I started playing it recently. I've actually seen people do some standard challenges with my list, and they've done quite well. So it's a good deck. It's a very strong deck. But it's not optimized yet. So when you build this deck, really play around with it. Try different 3-drops. Instead of Sky Knight Squire, you could try the Regal Bunnicorn from Eldraine. You could try Enduring Innocence in this deck. I've seen Scroll Shift in this deck to cheat the Overlord, to get the enter the battlefield triggers again. I used to play Soul Partition. I used to play more Get Lost. Really, you can do anything you want with this deck, and it's just going to work because Llanowar Elves, Collector's Cage, Overlord is such a strong base. Moving on to the lands, before we get to the sideboard, we have our classic 4 Brushland, 4 Verge, 4 Fast Land. And then we have 3 Restless Prairie. Not 4. I've tried 4. Tap lands when you're trying to go 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. They can be pretty brutal, although Prairie is an amazing land. 2 Myrics. Why Myrics over Fountainport? Because Fountainport can't play turn 1 Llanowar Elves. Myrics can. That is why. As far as the sideboard, we have 2 Authority of the Consuls. You got to be able to beat red. It's a problem. It's everywhere. And their creatures are bigger than yours sometimes. Further, to beat red, we have Soul Partition. You make a creature cost 2 more mana in the red deck, and it's basically dead. Their games don't last very long. You're also an aggro deck. You're participating in that problem. This is good removal against red. It's good against Dimir. Basically, aggro decks, tempo decks, this really shuts them down. Further removal, we have 2 copies of Destroy Evil. Great card against Golgari, great against Domain, great against the white token deck. The big thing about this card over Get Lost, well, first off, I hate Get Lost. I hate giving my opponent maps. But the fact that this can destroy creatures as well as enchantments means the Golgari deck, which plays Annex and Sheoldred and Demons, it's always good against them. Past that, we have 2 copies of Invasion of Gobakhan. I know a lot of people have talked about this. I've heard people discussing this. Darkest Mage, another content creator, played this deck. He talked about this with his chat. I like this card. You play it, you make one of your opponent's cards cost extra. You typically bring this in against sweeper decks. You make their sweepers expensive. I also bring this in against Demir. You play this card and you take Kaito or the cat, Enduring Curiosity, and they're 6 mana. Kaito cannot be ninjutsu'd from exile. So you make their already expensive top end into radically expensive, almost impossible to play cards. Plus, you only have to do 3 damage to flip it, allowing you to protect your creatures against removal spells, sweepers, and you just get buffs every turn. Why am I playing 2? I'm testing things. 4 copies of Aven Interrupter are up next. A 3-mana 2/2 flash flying, which exiles a spell on the stack and plots it. Spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more from exile or graveyards. So yes, this card is a weird little graveyard hate guy, although you never bring him in for that. More importantly, you bring him in for sweepers. You slow down the sweeper a turn, and you win the game. That's what he's there for. Also against Elspeth's Smite, because plotted cards can only be cast as a sorcery, if you manage to plot like an Elspeth's Smite or a Not on My Watch, that card's countered forever. So great against your control decks, great against your sweeper decks. Also, great for Invasion of Gobakon. You exile a card, make it cost 2 more. Play this guy, make it cost 2 more on top of that. You turn a 5-drop into a 9-drop. Finally, we have our classic Rest in Peace 2 copies for your graveyard decks. Idle Combo, Simic Terror, etc. It's a necessary evil. You gotta play this card. And then 1 Vivian Reed. Why is she there? I don't know. I like her. I like her. That's all. With that said, thank you for watching the deck tech portion. And please, do enjoy the gameplay. Alright, so on the play this game, against an opponent with a dinosaur avatar and J sleeves. With a probably borderline keepable hand, we're on the play. We have a good curve. We have 3 manland, well, 3 utility lands. I'm gonna keep it. Unless they're mono red aggro, I kinda like this draw. Alright, 6th land, you don't love to see it. And the cut down, also don't love to see that one. So there's some people that have been running, instead of Sky Knight Squire, Regal Bunicorn. And I could see it at certain times it's better. There, it just would have been another 1/1. No counterspell, hopefully. And then maybe we win with the Golem? Maybe we win with the Golem? And nothing else? Eh? It's nothing? Oh god. Oh god, there are nowhere to run. So this is one of our best matchups. We didn't have a great draw for it, but we have the White Overlord, which they don't deal with very well. Sanguine Evangelist is another card they really struggle to deal with. They have Anoint with Affliction as their best answer to it. Outside of that, they have almost nothing. I'm not gonna swing. I don't want to trade the Salvager even for like a Floodpits Drowner. I just don't think it's worth it. Or a Fabulum Trick. So that's fine. We sort of deny a Kaito since we just have so many creatures. And Enduring Curiosity would be a bit of a headache, since that's tough for us to deal with right now. Oh, if they're just playing Kaito, you love to see it. If they're just playing, if they're killing their, okay, they're killing their fairy to play Kaito. And it looks like they may have an auto-tappered. And they're surveilling. Wow, they have nothing. They have absolutely nothing right now. Speaking of people who have absolutely nothing, me. Activate the prairie. So this is going to be a 4-power creature. You're all going to be 3. I think I have to do that. Feels terrible, but it's the only way to guarantee Kaito dies. And yeah, we guarantee Kaito dies. We have a huge board state. And they don't deal with it very well. And then hopefully we just drown him in Myrick's salvager value. Alright, take the hits. Even if they play Curiosity here, it's still bad for us. But we can get the bat up to a 2-2. Well, I think I'm going to be doing exactly that. Not swinging. They have the Soulstone Sanctuary, even if they have nothing else. And I'd rather just start killing them with Myrick's tokens. That was a situation where, a mistake by me, I could have activated the Myrick's and buffed the token already. Salvager's never blocking. And that is how we win, just buffing our creatures. They could be incentivized if they draw a cut down off the top to kill the salvager. If I were them, that's what I would do. Alright, let's see. Do I want to block? I don't think I do. It's 2 damage here, but in the future turns, with the Mockingbird also being a flying creature, well, they're taking the choice away from me. Alright, can't hate him for that. Can't hate him for that. A second Evangelist. Good pickup. A second bat. Seeing as how they struggled with the first one, I'd love to see what they do with the second. Gonna get in there. If they want to trade, I won't stop them. Buffing, because that's what I'm going to be doing anyway. And now they have Mockingbird and presumably a couple of duds. Yeah, one of them's a land. They're reading the Salvager. They're finally realizing just how good of a card that is. And they're thinking. How do they get out of this? The answer for all you Dimir players, when you find yourself in this situation, the answer is you typically found in the top right. If you move to the top right, you can press Adjust Options, which allows you to find the Concede option. This will instantly lose you the game, but take you to game 2, where you may have a better chance. Second Myrick's, wow. I kind of want to hit him in the face for like a whole bunch. Our tokens trample, so they don't have much to stop us with. Tokens trample, everything's getting +3/+1. Never mind. That's too bad. Ooh. So they also get to buff their flyers? Still sending my ground guys. Should I think I lied? I think I'm sending everybody. I have to block. And that is going to be 14. That's going to be 17 trample damage. 17 trample damage plus the Evangelists. So they need to lose most of their board. You know, block, 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 block. And even then, I get more bats. So let's see if they find the right block even. I don't know if they will. Most people seem to forget that Salvager gives trample. Just like they did right now. Yes, this card gives trample until end of turn. This is why we play 4 of it. It breaks staled board states very easily. So against the Oops All Flyers deck, I don't really like to sideboard much. I like Invasion of Gobakhan. I don't like Sheltered by Ghosts. Split Up's mediocre. Toby is mediocre. You could... I bring in Soul Partition over Get Sheltered. You don't really want to play Sheltered when you have no other protection. You don't have Shard Mages. You don't have any other way. And we can cut. We can cut really anything. I think I'll take out some Tobies. So since they're probably going to bring in Tishana's Tidebinder, we want the creatures we play to at least have a body. And if they Tishana's a Salvager, at the very least late game, it's gonna get freed. It's gonna do good. This hand is once again very borderline. I mean, it's 6 lands. And it's good cards, but it's 6 lands. Again, not a great hand, but you know, we've got if we find a land, we've got to get 2, 3, maybe even 4. We have a split up. We have a man land if we flood out. Alright, good pickup. Could lead on Invasion of Gobakhan. I think I will. So one of the best parts of about Invasion of Gobakhan is, well, we don't get to see it, but if you take a Kaito, it can't ninjutsu. So it doesn't just set Kaito's mana cost to +2. It's basically +3, because it's going to be a 6 mana card that can't be ninjutsu'd. Alright, well. If they're on the normal list that only plays 2 spell stutters, we're about to kill them. We're about to play an Overlord. We're not going to be able to deal with it. And we're about to win the game. A Tidebinder could slow us down for a couple turns, but Curiosity, reasonable. So I might be letting... Am I letting that through? Am I letting that through? Well, you twisted my arm, opponent. I'll let it through. 1 card for them. Okay. You don't love to see that one. I really don't love to see that one. Okay, just a solid pickup. We're probably going to be looking for a big split up soon. Overlord, great card to put under it. Let's see if I can convince them. I have a 1 mana card, which I'm going to play on their turn. I don't, but hey, they don't know that. One big thing about activating Cage, because most of our creatures make 2 guys, you really do want to be looking for Prairies to just activate and Cage, Myrixes to just activate and Cage, because that is one of the best ways you can get 3 creatures going. Alright, doesn't seem we're going to be doing that now. Although they don't have the best attacks. I still want to. And even though they still only have 2 creatures, I still would be splitting up. It takes them off being able to draw any cards with Curiosity. Unless they have Flash Creature, which I don't think they have Drowner. Otherwise they would have played. Or Fairy Mastermind. Plus a removal spell for the insect. Let's see what they've got. Spyglass Siren. Alright. Another Collector's Cage. Not the best. Fate Bloom Trick here would be well, they're not the mana, but Blood Pit Drowner, which I didn't think they would have had. I didn't see their hand as like a Flood Pit Drowner type thing. But maybe it was off the top. Okay, I've got 2 Overlords hiding. If I can get some creatures going, I can win the game pretty easily. But if they keep drawing the way they do... Alright, Mastermind kind of sucks, but let's see if they're going to keep it. They are going to keep it. Huh. They really want to kill us. They really do want to kill us. They're keeping a 2 mana 2/1 with no other text. Another land. You don't love it, but we can make a 3/3 off Merrick's. I think it's removal spell or bust. Although against the... How many removal spells? 4 Fabloom, 4 Drowner, 4 Kaito. Few of those. That's a 15 removal spell deck. I'm not feeling confident. Not feeling too confident about this one. My bad. I should have been more confident. I guess that's a lesson, Chad. Have some confidence in yourself. They just might not have it. Oh, wow. Even if it's only a tap effect, we do get to put the other new guys out. Gonna buff the Might, because buffing the Overlord does nothing. Technically, yes, it had a cut down range. Although if they have cut down, they'll just play it here. Hey? Nowhere to run. Oh, that's so strange, seeing that card come back into the meta. I don't know what it's for. I guess it's like you played against Demir. You strip the Kaito thing. Playing this. If they want to get silly as I go to attacks, I want to be able to activate my... Oh. They're just gonna let me do it. Uh-huh. So, boop, boop, boop. Let's see if they want to do anything on my end step. Realistically, they should. I know it's weird to wait since they obviously don't have removal now, but it could be Fairy Mastermind, hit the draw, pick up, cut down. On to you, don't give him the cut down. On to you. Again, no cut down allowed. They don't have it, but it never hurts to be a little bit careful. Alright, I have 21 mana worth of Overlords. What is your response? What is your response? To concede, I like that. Alright, I like that. That's a good start. Alright, on the draw this time against an opponent with arena sleeves and the mystery guy avatar. That sounds like a mono red player to me. I was wrong, it's a domain player, even worse. If there's 2 types of people I've learned to not like while playing this game, it's those 2. Terrible opening, we can't play our Llanowar Elves, but we do get to put down our Sky Knight Squire. They have Eternity Beams. Alright, we're dead. We did try our best, but it unfortunately wasn't good enough. Yes, a standard games. A try as you may. They don't last that long. Nothing. Really. Absolutely nothing to follow that up. That's not, it might be the domain deck here. I've got all the Overlords. So, against the domain deck, it's probably one of the most boring matchups you could possibly play. There's very little nuance to it. You just hit them with creatures and hope they die. You can't beat a Sunfall game 1. Game 2, game 3, you have answers. But game 1, you just don't have anything. The only sort of nuance is how you play your creatures to get them Sunfalled. How you play around cards like Get Lost. If they're on the bilge plan, that gives us a little bit more leeway. What do we want to get bilged? Well, it looks like they have nothing. I think I want to play this guy. Get him down, he can buff our board. I'll see if I can get a buff on a bat or a land. Don't need a second salvager. The game is seemingly uninteresting. Okay, they have a land. Are they on Day of Judgment? Or are they on Sunfall? Yes. Oh my god, they're in temporary lockdown. They're on the third and most evil version. Impend another Overlord. With how slow their draw has been, we might just be the control deck here. We have a split up in hand, which does nothing. Okay, another lockdown, wow. They've been hurt by token players in the past. Unfortunately for them, we are Overlord tokens. So now you've got tokens to kill, and you've got an Overlord to kill. With a land off the top, okay. Sunfall lockdown. They do not want to deal with tokens at all. I'm going to see if I can set up a board state that maybe a prairie activation wins. Even if we do pick up this game, it's looking rough. If they're on an old school domain list, yeah, or they're playing this many sweepers, it's tough for us to execute our game plan. Plus Demolition Field for some unknown reason. But we've got an Overlord. They have another Sunfall. Yeah, just... Oh, hey! 3 pair. Sorry, 4 pair. 2 4/4 incubators, even. It's quite impressive. Their own Overlord. Doesn't help them against our current one in play. So this makes the Overlord attack lethal. It forces them to chump. Although they could just be setting up for another Sunfall, I'm not going to play around that. If they have the 3rd Sunfall after 4 sweepers... Chat, word of advice. It's always good to play around the 1st sweeper. Sometimes good to play around the 2nd. You don't really ever play around the 5th. If they have the 5th sweeper, they have the 5th sweeper, and you just gotta let them have it. There's not much you can do. Seems they don't have it though. So that's a good start for us. That is a very good start. Alright, they're dead. So they are on every sweeper ever printed. So Destroy Evil is quite good at times. If we get Paw Patches, Cages, and Llanowar Elves, even Squires caught under a temporary lockdown, it can free them. We want our obvious Sunfall hate. We take out our Split Ups because there's nothing to kill. We take out the Sheltered because we don't want to commit to board. And then we just kind of cut a couple of random cards. I typically go for 3 drops. I like keeping all the Paw Patch. I'm going to cut a couple Tobies and a couple Salvagers. Sanguine is our strongest creature, because if they play Temporary Lockdown, the base creature survives as a 2/1 with Battlecry. And if they're on a Day of Judgment version as well, if they're on every single sweeper, it at the very least gives us a bat. So on the draw this game, we have a land Llanowar Elves with Gobakhan, Destroy Evil, 2 Salvagers, and an Overlord. This is the type of hand that really calls to me because I have 2 shots. Probably about an 75-ish% chance to hit a land by the time I need it. But if I don't hit a land, I don't ever do anything. So I'll make the semi-smart play and get rid of it. I think if they're also mulliganing... God, do I want to go to 5? Because this does nothing. I'll go to 5. There we go. This hand also does nothing, but when you go to 5, sometimes you just have to accept that your hand doesn't really do anything. Alright, Squire's a good pickup. Hopefully no beans here. Hoping to not see the beans. They don't even have green mana. Wow. Starting with Sky Knight Squire. No point to playing Invasion. Doesn't look like they have anything going on. no point to playing Cage. We don't have anything going on. So we're just gonna try to get a guy down. They are Naya Overlords. It's actually a deck I've tried a couple times in the past. Alright, absolute whiff on the draw for us. We could have played the Paw Patch on one, but I think I'd rather try to snipe either a red or a white Overlord. Because if that's the kind of plays... Okay, never mind. Interesting. So these are so cheap already. These are very cheap. I guess I'll make the Frail back a bit more expensive. And chip down our invasion? I imagine they leyline binding here. You know, you want to leyline binding the squire eventually. What? Oh, that's not what... Well, that's good for us. We pick up a Destroy Evil. We get our Copacan back. We get to do it to him again. Our guy's still around. We pick up a land. We play some creatures. We start hitting them. Or we could pick up another squire, too. Alright, well. If we, again, a land here, pretty good for us. We get a couple of big guys. We whiff again. I don't know what we do. I mean, I know what we do. We play our guy, but... That's too bad. So I could play the Cage. That does set up for... Next turn, activate Cage, play Paw Patch, activate Cage, but we know they have the answers. And if I play the Cage, I just get frill backed. I think I'm on the assumption, yeah, they have Sunfall. Or they have something that they don't want to kill a creature of ours. Tough to fight 6 lands with 2. Very tough. We do have a... Well, that'll do it. Looks like we're off the board. I think it's fine for us to pack this one in. We gave it our all. Just couldn't make it happen. Let's run it back. Alright, on the draw. Sorry, on the play. Great hand, but we need a land. Exact same hand we had last game. We've got the squire, we've got the invasion. If they do the play where they exile our invasion with leyline binding, now that we have to get lost, we can really get them. Let's see. So this is a great spot for Evangelist. If we play this out, and they have the turn 3 lockdown, we still keep a very solid creature around. If they don't have that, well then, we've just got a lot of damage. It doesn't seem like they're on split up, considering they haven't shown it, and they've shown many copies of temporary lockdown. Avatar lockdown. Yep. So our guy's still around. I don't think I want to Aven Interrupter. Not when... Oh boy. Oh, that's a tough one. 2 beans, a Sunfall, a Leyline Binding, an Overlord. So if I take the Overlord, that's an 8 mana card, because you can't... Oh, I should be taking the Overlord. Yeah. We have the answer to the Sunfall, the Interrupter. Let's do that. The Binding is 4 mana, and they can't play the beans. So they should not be able to impend this. Cast a spell. It reads like you should be able to impend, but when I've had my overlords exiled, it doesn't let me. What do I know, right? If you want to binding my Lanera elf to prevent me from flipping my Gobakon, I suppose you are welcome to do that, opponent. If you want to binding my Gobakon and let me do it again, I'm also very okay with that. Sure. We'll do this on their draw step. There we go. I said more stops because I don't trust Arena. And hopefully they didn't pick up a second Sunfall. When Overlord. It's gotta be Sunfall though. Overlord does come down. Overlord does cause a headache or three, but once we interrupt something, those are going up to 9 and 10 mana. So I think as long as we can deal with that guy, which I think will be fine. I think I'm interested in flipping. So I flip that, hit him for 4. Next turn I hit him for 10. Fairly close to lethal. I could also 7/7 doesn't work. Very close to lethal though. Very, very close. Buff my guys. Yeah, it's only gonna be 10 damage. Although, oh wow, what an excellent draw for them. Wow, quite obnoxious. I guess I salvage her. I can attack with the bat. Start chipping them down. If they pick up a land for Sunfall, we have the Interrupter. If they play a Beans, we still have the Interrupter. Although if they play the first Beans, we have to let it resolve. Because untap land Sunfall wins the game immediately. Past that, I don't think it matters. Oh, did they find it? Untap land Sunfall. You though. Fun. A good card to interrupt though. And they're dead, they know they're dead. So yeah, that's how the domain matchup goes. Well, thank you for watching the video. If you've made it this far, I hope you enjoyed. For a couple closing remarks, let's just talk about the matchups real quick. So this deck is an absolute crusher at mid-range. Like, it feels like most decks crush mid-range. It's probably because most people are bad at mid-range. But this deck beats Demir easily, beats Golgari easily, does very good against Convoke, does both Jeskai, white-blue, any sort of creature-based deck, this deck just does better. As far as bad matchups, playing against the mice deck feels awful because you can't block them because their mice are too big and you're forced to just hit them in the face. If you find yourself running into a lot of red arrow, definitely go up to 4 Sheltered by Ghosts. I used to play 4 Sheltered by Ghosts, and it makes the red aggro pretty solid. Kills a guy, gains you a bunch of life, makes your guy hard to kill. As far as sweeper matchups, I've been seeing a bit of domain lately. The white token deck I haven't seen, but it still exists. Again, it's rough. Game 1, you gotta just slop your guys out there, hope they die. Games 2 and 3, you have access to Soul Partition. Sorry, not Soul Partition. Invasion of Gobakon and Aven Interrupter for a bit more gameplay. And as far as combo, you just kill them and you play Rest in Peace games 2 and 3. That's all. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any comments, anything you'd like to see more of, if you'd like me to talk more about opening hands, if you'd like me to upload matches I lose, if you'd like to see anything, really, just throw it in the comments and I'll try to incorporate that. Thank you and have a good night.